Call a meeting to order, Merrimack Valley Historical Society, 5:30 PM, Wednesday, August 10th. Present are Donna Graham, Jeff Titter, Bonnie Post, Steve Myers, Steve Roth, and Kelly O'Malley. Minutes. I know Kim did type up some notes from our meeting. I know it wasn't recorded or live, so she just had to, are there any additions or anything that we want to make, or
Yes.
Bonnie?
Can I ask if we would please put those that were in attendance on there?
Mm-hmm. We can do that.
So last month's meeting was Wayne Winchester, Donna Graham, Jeff Titter, Bonnie Post, Dennis Oliver, Steve Myers, Kelly O'Malley. Absent was Liaison Nemeth.
All right. Any other corrections or to the minutes?
I didn't know if on the paragraph where it talked about Wayne asked if I guess that's we'll take loans, and I didn't know if we needed to add of museum exhibit items, because the will we take loans leaves it kind of open.
I don't know if there's a need, but I mean, if you want to make that addition to, if that was what was discussed, make that addition or that correction to the minutes.
And then later, it talks about Jeff Titter said Jennifer Blakely was
Right.
interested in getting information about the building that she has for the cigar vault.
And that was
Dennis, right?
Was it Dennis?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
All right, so the correction, add loan of museum items, and the correction of adding, taking out my name, adding Dennis as the one referenced Ms. Blakely.
Thank you.
Any more correction or additions? Not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Motion.
By Donna, is there a second? Second, I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. I did not get with Kim to ask any treasurer if there was any, there probably were no donations or anything added to our funds. New business. There's society mission statement. We did approve a mission statement for the museum itself, but the mission statement for the society itself was kind of up in limbo, and I don't believe we ever voted to approve that. What was proposed months ago is the purpose of the Merrimack Valley Historical Society is to discover, memorialize, and disseminate the prehistory and history of the Merrimack Valley area located in Franklin, St. Louis, and Jefferson counties. The communities included within these counties are Pacific, Robertsville, Catawissa, Gray Summit, and Villa Ridge. Just wanted to get everybody's opinion, see if we want to approve it or make any additions, corrections, deletions to what was proposed as the society mission statement.
I think that pretty well covers it.
We've talked about it several
Yeah.
times, and I agree.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we can go ahead and accept that.
All right,
Motion to accept it?
By Donna, is there a second?
Second.
By Bonnie, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No, okay. Old business, Red Cedar update.
Okay, folks, I've given you some photos to look at as of today, when these were taken. So let's just flip through them real quick, and there's some points of interest. The very first picture you'll see there with the little bobcat, or the, I guess it's a New Holland. They have removed that concrete slab in front of the front door, and that's being formed now and should be poured by the end of the week, possibly, weather permitting. So that's moving along nicely. And remember, that part on the right is going to remain. It'll be refinished on the top surface, but the structure was still good. Just some color charts that are being chosen from, and a base for the post. You have the flooring is about, I want to say, 30 to 40% done as far as the patching of the existing floor. And you remember what is being, it's being patched with is floorboards that were taken from the house at First in Osage before it was demolished. So that's good to be able to repurpose those materials. You'll see in that picture also that there's that window, and you've got the chinking and the logs to the right and the left of the window. That area right there, the chinking has been painted white. Other parts of red cedar you'll see in the main floor, the chinking is going to be what it was originally. It's been cleaned, but it's not going to be a bright white. So I just want to call your attention to that so you're not shocked when you walk in the room. There's more floor patch that's been done. And it's neat because we didn't have enough of that floor material to finish the job, but we had quite a bit, which is good. But we are going to, the general contractor is going to acquire what we still need. And just yesterday, he was able to find it in a house that was also being demolished. And so they're saving that for him for that one. And this was a house in St. Louis. I don't know how they find those things, but
Right, yeah.
it's pretty amazing. But it did match for the most part. Some of it was a little thicker, but when the floor is sanded, it'll all match up, okay? You see the lower left corner of page 2, you've got that glass window that's now been installed there where the stairway is. And that it really does look good, and it's going to give people the view of what the building, how the construction was. So that's good. Not sure why the picture of the HVAC unit was taken, but there it is. The foundation on the outside, are we not getting sound? Excellent condition, so I'll continue. The foundation of the outside area where the pavilion will be built someday has been backfilled and looks good. They're not doing the elevation change in the front of that foundation, but the area between the highway and the foundation yet, because the sewer line has to be buried. And so we're waiting on locates for that and for some other factors that are delaying it a little bit, but it'll be soon. You see a snapshot there of that back hallway, some of the laminate floor. Just some other photos of the interior at the stage it's in. Most of the tools and the piles of building materials have been removed from the interior main section. Painting still needs to be done there. And you see them getting ready to form up, or they are actually putting forms in that front porch area. The other pictures, again, forming. That's the remainder of the pictures. So I'll take you through a couple of the things that were shared this morning at the construction team meeting, which we did have Alderman Lesh attend, and Ms. O'Malley was there, as well as Katie Aholt with Navigate, Tony Patterson with Pattern Knives, and myself. We talked about a lot of things, but one is the signage decision is still hanging out there, and we're going to present that to the board for hopefully final decision on Tuesday night. So that's on the sign that'll be there on the concrete wall, the Route 66 shield, whether that's going to be painted on or whether it's going to be a metal cutout. It's a cost factor in the end. There's also the signage that is on the roadway. We want to get them numbers in front of them for that decision, hopefully by then. The red cedar sign, the neon sign, whether or not that's going to go back where it originally was or inside, your recommendation has been to go ahead and move it inside. So that's under consideration still. Tony Patterson had today a photograph of the actual original sign for red cedar. So we've all seen the photograph of the wedding. Have you seen that? The wedding that occurred there at Red Cedar in front. So they have underneath the door. You have not seen that?
I haven't.
Okay, there was a wedding that occurred, a double wedding, actually, 2 brides and grooms. And that sign
Oh.
is not the original sign.
Yeah.
Sign in that photo. So there's an original one that Tony shared in their research when they first started the project. They were given this photo, and it's a smaller sign. Like that one has wings on it that have been added with the frog legs, and what's the other one on the other side?
Stakes.
Stakes, okay? That, those wings are not present in the original sign that came with the building. So this is something that'll be for the consideration of the board, because one of the suggestions is that we're wanting to restore the building as much as possible, and it's possible that that original sign, or the font, the design of the sign, but it would say what the building is now, you know? So that's something that'll be put before the board, and then it would be lit with floodlights at night. That would allow for that neon sign to go inside. That's one option for them, but that's being discussed as well. So there is another one that they're going to notify us as soon as the sanding is complete so we can visually inspect the floors. There's a knockbox location that's been determined by the fire department.
Can we back up to the neon
Yeah,
sign?
Sure, sure.
So Dennis had made a motion last time to move it inside, but then it was stopped because we were talking about getting the Route 66 Association's permission to do that since they've refurbished the sign, so we did not vote.
Oh,
on
I'm
that.
sorry. Okay. So there is a letter that has come from the Route 66 Association, and they are not in favor of moving the sign inside. I'm sorry, I thought that
I heard that at the
Recommendation
administrative
was-
committee
Oh, yes,
meeting,
no, I
but
was not aware of that they
Right.
were not in favor of
Okay.
it.
So let me read to you that email. I can find it real quick. Okay. All right, so to whom it may concern, I'm writing to express the association's concern over options being discussed for the sign at Red Cedar. We are led to believe that one option under consideration includes displaying the sign inside the building rather than its original location. While we understand the wish to protect the sign, we feel any risk is minimal given its position and the relatively busy location. We also understand some concern was expressed over the word restaurant. Our position would be very few, if any, visitors would be concerned. There would be plenty of signage identifying the location as a museum. Also, Route 66 visitors tend to be interested more in the heritage of a location and are unlikely to be offended or disappointed. Among some of the future options under consideration for the site include food service of some sort anyway. So it would be the position of the Route 66 Association of Missouri that we assisted in the restoration of the sign in order to see it placed in its original position and used in its original historical context, not inside the building. We did not raise and expend association funds to have the sign altered in any significant way. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Rich Denkla, and Rich is the president of the association. So that will be shared also with the board. But if you all wanted to make a recommendation up or down, we'll take that to the board as well.
Is there
Steve
any-
also
Go
thought
ahead.
that if we show them the wooden sign, because that is original to the building, that the association may be more likely to be okay with it since it is the historic part of that building. I have not talked to them yet. I don't know if you actually reached out and talked to them, but I just know that we have that letter, so.
I mean, I would like to see it inside, but we did not pay to have it restored. So I would have to defer to the Route 66 Association because they paid to have it restored. And ultimately, I guess the ultimate decision is going to be the Board of Aldermen when it comes down to anything to that magnitude of moving the sign or putting it back or what. I mean, personally, I would like it inside, but that's my personal preference. But the Route 66 Association did pay to refurbish the sign, so, I mean, I could see their wish to have it put back where it was.
Well, if it's outside, would it be lit up like 24/7?
It can be,
Yeah,
certainly.
which would be good, publicity-wise, people driving by then would see that, rather than us having it inside and you having to go inside to see it. So,
The concern for me is still that it has the word restaurant on there,
Right.
and folks will
Right.
be confused. I know what they're saying, but I feel like there's going to be more visitors than just Route 66 visitors.
Correct.
Along with, I had stated at the administration meeting that Chris Fowler, when they were working out of there during COVID, there weren't a lot of those travelers, but they had a lot of visitors stop by thinking that the restaurant was open. So, and that has to be local folks that would, or not just Pacific, but basically local folks. So that still raises my concern. Again, like we haven't talked to them face to face or anything to talk about that. But I love the idea of the photo op and moving that whole wall to red cedar.
Right, and I guess was there, whenever the Route 66 Association had it restored, was there any agreement in place that it would be put back in its original location? I'm not sure.
That's a good question. We can.
Yeah. Mr. Myers or Mr. Roth, whenever the sign was restored and by the association, was there any agreement signed that it would be by between the city and the association on where it would be placed afterwards?
No, not to my recollection.
No, not to mine either. There is the kind of a side note. The Gallagher family does have rights to the sign if the city doesn't want to use it,
Correct.
but that's not what's happening here.
Right, okay.
would they have any say as to where it goes, the Gallagher's?
I think as long as it's being used, when we acquired the building, there was a provision within that transaction where they had rights to the sign and also the bar. I think those two items. We're using them both, and so the way I remember that agreement reading is if, let's just say we didn't want to use the sign, rather than just set it aside or put it in storage, then it would go to them. And the same with the bar. But here, we're wanting to use it. It's just not necessarily on the building.
Right. Okay.
I agree with Jeff. I would defer to the Route 66 Association.
And I mean, have you spoken to them directly, Mr. And there's no budging, or do you know, or have you talked?
They're pretty resolved. That they'd love to see it back up where it was. Now, having said that, they're reasonable people. I don't think they would harbor any grudges. I think they'd still be willing to work with us in the future if it changed. However, they'd be disappointed in that change.
Correct, you will.
That's my gut feeling from our conversation.
Dee, would it be possible for you and I to have a conversation with them together?
Yeah,
I know
sure.
we talked about that last time, but that didn't come to
Do it
fruition.
tomorrow if you want.
Oh, okay. That'd be great.
If you could, I guess, have another conversation and let us know, maybe at the next meeting, see if there's any work with them on the placement of the sign. And hopefully by then, it'll be worked out.
Okay. Let's see. The other things are just minor details that need to be worked out. One thing that's kind of major to me is that early on in the project, I had been very adamant that I wanted to work around those trees, the two trees to the west of the building, and save them if at all possible. We are losing one, and that is the one that's furthest to the north. So the one closest to the road still is fine, it's healthy. The other one is all brown leaves now, and it's going to have to be taken down, so that was authorized today. So the contractor will be removing that tree, as much as I hate to see that.
Are we replanting in its place?
Well, that's absolutely possible, but it won't be a 100-plus-year-old tree.
Right.
Yeah. But it'll get there in 100 years. It'll be big. So the flooring, we already talked about, and sanding the floor. We talked about the elevation of change outside. for the up against, or for the driveway or the roadway. Our schedule, I'll just end with this, the schedule is expected now at the end of September for demobilization to occur for the contractor, be moving all his stuff out. So punch list, ticket kind of things, short list, I think might still be happening, but for the most part, they'll be done.
Great. Any questions for Mr. Myers on the Red Cedar update?
As far as that other signage that you're talking, the shield, are there any pictures of that we can see?
There are some architectural drafts that were done, not that I have tonight, but
Okay,
I can email them to you.
great,
That'd be great.
Okay.
thank you.
And Steve, I wasn't at the meeting this morning. Was there discussion on that? I mean, a decision needs to be made at some point, and it would be a change order if we go with the metal, it'd be a change order. So where does that stand exactly?
So what was discussed this morning was simply that Katie was going to send the cost breakdown to us, so that way we can I could forward it to you, and then that can be presented to the board.
Was there a feeling from the group today as to which way we should go?
I think they all, and Derek also would love to see the metal cut out, if it's at all possible, because they like the idea of it being backlit someday, if not right away, and they thought it would really give a great presentation. But if it's a cost figure that stands in the way of that happening, then it painted would be acceptable.
What was Tony's opinion?
I believe cut out.
Yeah?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Mr. Myers? Still under old business was the society. We talked at the last meeting about the role that we would play as a committee. I have a draft, a letter that I will send to Mr. Roth, but it's attached in the packet that I handed out to you, to Bonnie and Donna. I didn't know if there's any, if you're okay with that, and I will forward it on to Mr. Roth, or if there's any questions or corrections of that.
I think it can be forwarded on to Mr. Roth.
Okay. Do we want to do that in a motion, or?
I make a motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
By Donna, is there a second?
I second it.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Moving on to reports. Mr. Nemeth is not here. Research. Donna, is there anything from research?
Not really, other than Sue Reed and myself have been meeting with Derek Pryor pretty regularly on Fridays and going over some of the suggestions and getting more information towards the displays and that he wants to do. I talked to Kelly. I tried to take the packet that Janet had done that said possible displays, and I was going through there and I was kind of highlighting actual objects that we have, because he doesn't necessarily want a lot of printed things, but that just became too overwhelming. And so what we've talked about is possibly having Derek look through those tubs and find things that he thinks would be good initial display items, and then kind of give us an idea of what we need for the display cases and things like that. I think the main thing is, and Kelly's working on this, is getting those shelves back in correct order so we can use our inventory list and go through and make sure that the things that we take out of a tub goes back in that original tub if we don't use it. But that's what we're working on now, is to kind of get an idea. And the displays that Derek is going to help us set up, is just a way to give us an idea how to do it. So later on, we can change out the displays ourselves. We're not going to be depending on Derek to always, come in and do the displays for us. But with him setting up the original ones and showing us how to do it, I think that will be helpful.
Good. Thank you, Donna. Kelly, Director of Tourism, report.
Two things. One, we talked about the software last time. I went ahead and talked to the Gallery Systems about the museum system quote. Came back a lot higher than I expected, at $24,255. So I feel like that might just be out of our price range for what we have to be able to assess. Now, I did go and calculate some stuff with Past Perfect. I left a message with them, but I haven't heard back. In all fairness, I wasn't in the office much today to catch if they had called back, because they have one that has public access and one that does not. And also, if we are part of the Historic Society, I guess nationwide, we also can get a discount. But it did say for the one time, if we got the largest package, which would include 3,000 gigabyte storage, this is a cloud-based system, just like the museum system is. The first year would be $3,490, and each following year would be $2,245 to keep it updated. If we went with the package, that was with no public access. With public access, the first year would be $4,990. Second year would be $3,745. I think we could probably go with the package one below it, without public access would be $2,490. Year two is $1,245. If we go with the public access, which is what I would recommend, is $3,240. Year two is $1,995. Still kind of a little bit higher price than I kind of want to pay, but I feel like that would be the way to go if we want to use a system. I talked to the Washington Historical Society. They do use Past Perfect. Where they have hiccups is when a volunteer maybe just doesn't move the stuff when they move the stuff. So that will get a little crowded on that. But that's the research I did on that. There are some other systems out there, but these are the two most popular ones. And I also looked up with the public access, took a picture of it online because I didn't want to print it out. Hang on. With Past Perfect in Missouri, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there are only 6 places that have the public online, and that's Warsaw, Sedalia, High Ridge, Kirksville, Kansas City, and Springfield. So that is with the public access versus the non-public access.
And when you say public access, does that mean people can get online and see what we have?
See what we have. They can't change what we have. They
Right,
can just
they
see what we have.
have.
And then the other part that I had was I think I have talked with each of you guys individually about the idea of possibly shifting the genealogy center over to the Parks and Recreation building and moving the back room into a more child-friendly museum. Where we can rotate some stuff out. Some things would be permanent. The genealogy side would shift up to the current Parks and Rec building, and a couple of the rooms in the back would be for more history related, that was not genealogy related, and items that we probably will not use in the museum, such as possible yearbooks. There's a lot of Missourian articles. There's some great articles just on Pacific, but it doesn't necessarily fit into either of those areas. There's also some binders with pictures from different events, which somebody took the time to put those together from the events. There's no names listed in there, so I can't really put that in genealogy. However, I think it's still a great part of history that people will like to see. And in 20 years, those pictures are going to be really cool because people won't print pictures anymore. So, I think those are the great things to have. So it is a suggestion. I have a PowerPoint, I have a written presentation, and I have a cost with it. The cost would just come from the exhibits budget, so there would not be an actual additional cost to it. The only thing I'd want to add up into the genealogy is a camera system or a system just like that, so those that are working there, whoever's volunteering or myself, can make sure nothing's being taken. I don't think anything will be, but you just got to be secure on it. We could also start working on putting the genealogy system all up now if we wanted to.
After talking this morning, and I don't know how you would go about doing that, but when somebody sees genealogy, they immediately think of family and names and things like that. But those red binders that we have that has so much history of the fire department and the police department and the Kelsey
And floods and,
things, and the floods, you know. How can we get people to realize that there's something more over there than just family names?
That's a good question. I mean, we can do genealogy and Pacific history, or if you guys have a creative name, I think that's fantastic.
Why couldn't those binders be part of the museum in some way?
The museum, we don't have bookshelves in the museums. So,
Well,
I mean, we
not
could use an
necessarily.
article here or there.
Not necessarily in their current format,
Mm-hmm.
but if they could be part of an electronic display where people could flip through images.
We can do that, but I know that those displays are supposed to be changing. At least that's what Derek had said. So, and there are a ton of articles, and they're really cool. So I encourage people to come read them just because I'm enthralled with what I've been reading that I didn't even know happened out here, and I live right down the road.
And especially if you have students want to come in and do some kind of a term paper report or something, there's so much information in those red binders that they would be able to use, but they may not know to look in the genealogy building for that. And I don't know, I don't know what word you would use. I've been thinking about it all afternoon.
That's great.
Historical building.
I'm just thinking along the same lines of the videos that people would be able to call up on this screen and then touch the person they want to hear the video from. There would be another section of that all these different photographs could be scanned to and referenced on
Right.
that same.
If somebody wants to say they want more on the fire department, they can push a button that says fire department, and you can scroll
See
through the history.
genealogy or
and-
something,
And see
maybe.
the history of the fire department or the pictures or whatever that were in that binder.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't know if we're going to want to take the time for each and every one of those. I want to get everything scanned in so you can really look it up online. A lot of places we're going to be putting QR codes where you can scan and go there. When we're doing fire department history, that's when I think all of that stuff would be loaded in. But you don't want to put on one of the two screens that we have, here's the floods, and here's this, and here's this, and here's this, and here's this, because it would be overwhelming versus educational just to come back. Because we do an exhibit on floods, then yes, we would use all that information. But it would be great to be a hands-on tool if you do have a high school student that has to do a paper, come in, get some additional articles that you may not be able to find online. I think the Missourian stuff we can find online, but I love how it's put together.
Well, you might be able to do that just from the screen. If somebody goes through and sees something, maybe make some kind of a notation, more information in genealogy building
Oh,
or
yeah,
something.
yeah, so you got some
You could
basic
do
Some
that.
basic and then
Yeah.
add,
or in-depth, absolutely. I think that wouldn't be as overwhelming if somebody was to push on it.
right.
Right,
But I do like the idea of adding something because it is more than genealogy.
right.
And my concern when we talked about it was access to the building and for people to be able to access the collection that would be placed up there. That's just my concern. I think having a children's area, will draw people in, I think would be good. But like I said, all access to the building, because you're only one person. And if you're down at the Red Cedar and somebody wants to be up there and I know you want to have cameras and stuff like that, but make sure we have somebody up there when people are up there.
Oh, I agree. Somebody
Yeah.
will be up there, whether we have volunteers or a staff member or something of that sort. Also, if we say you want to follow the Washington Historical Society, they're only open from 1 to 4 for a few hours. I also want to be able to do by appointments as well. So if there is somebody from a high school that would like to do a report and can't make it between 1 and 4, I'd like that information to be available for them to say, oh, I got a report, can I come in at 6? And then I can just change my schedule around to be there. Or if we have a volunteer that can work evenings, have that as an option as well. So I'd like it more than just this tiny time, if
Yeah.
that makes
Well, and
sense.
Kelly has done, because I was over there this morning with Dennis, and Kelly has done a lot of measurements and stuff, and and the way it's tentatively put out, it will be ADA compatible, and wheelchairs will be able to get through there and move up to the counters and stuff like that.
Bonnie, do you have any comments or?
I agree with you. It just, if we're going to move the genealogy research out of the Red Cedar Inn, if we could just make sure that we have a schedule that people could understand and hit that time, or like you said, make an appointment, just to make
In
that
addition
stuff.
to it, I'd like to be able to make an appointment. So there'd be hours that we'd have set. And then in addition, if something comes up, because I feel like a 1 to 4 could be difficult for a student. Or even a 9 to 4 would be difficult for a student, so.
So I would make a motion that we are in agreement to have a children's section in the back part of Red Cedar where the genealogy was originally scheduled to go, and the genealogy and additional history viewed placed in the Park and Recs building as long as that it is accessible to the public.
I second it.
Is there any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, great, thank you. The software, are you needing a recommendation from us or support from us
I would
on?
like your input. Again, I'd like to talk to Past Perfect, to actually physically have a conversation, because I found a couple other Past Perfect, and it's all the same stuff, but it's a cheaper price, but it's through the same company. So I want to find out what that difference is.
I think you should maybe wait, we can make a recommendation after you get more information from Past
Yes.
Perfect.
I think
and,
that's-
Yeah, I think that's, I think you're correct, the 24,000 is a little bit
It's a little
much.
steep.
Right, so I'd like a little more information on that, and especially with it being accessible to the public online would be awesome, so.
We just don't want to get something with the expectation of being able to add to it later on, get as much as we can at this time, because we don't know what the administration is going to be like in another couple of years.
That's true.
And if we want to upgrade, maybe we don't want to leave ourselves open for having to upgrade right away. Get as much as we can right now.
That's true. I'm trying to find the one. So the largest package has, both of them have a one-time setup fee. They both include hosting, maintenance, and support, unlimited records. Both would have public access. The XL package, which is the one below the largest one, 20 users can be put onto it, so all of you guys could be users if you wanted to. And it's got 1,000 gigabyte storage. The other one is 40 users with 3,000 gigabyte storage. So
I think we
pictures
need
don't.
40.
I
That's
don't
what-
think we need 40 users.
and I
right.
don't know if we need 3,000 gigabytes, which is why I'm like, I think this one would work for us, because most of our stuff's going to be scans and pictures. So I probably would not put our videos on here because that would pull a lot of that. But you can come up to the Genealogy Center and see all that, or over at the museum. So that's,
This is probably going to be a way off point or whatever. The internet service, do we have to consider the internet service that we have when we're using a program like this? I mean,
That should be internal software.
yeah, this is, because it's cloud-based, it will even work with Macs. So if you're an Apple user, you can use it on any of it.
okay.
Will people have the ability to download files that are on that software package to their personal?
I can ask, let me ask that question. I don't think they can, but I think it's a good idea just to ask.
Because like the research that we talked about earlier with the fire department material, that's something that, pictures or articles, it's all public information. There's no reason why it couldn't be shared royalty-free.
Right.
Or maybe, hey, maybe there's something there. We can get some income.
Right.
That'd be cool. No, that's a great question that I'll ask.
We had talked about early on charging, 25 cents a print or whatever if
Right.
they wanted to print something, but today's age, it's easy to share that stuff.
Well, and you can go on like Etsy, where you go on and you want a copy of something, and you go ahead and pay $1 for a copy and have it downloaded onto your laptop or whatever.
It's true, too. I just love it that if we're putting all this work in, folks will see it. You know, they have
Right.
the option. There are history buffs that will really enjoy that.
But we don't want to put everything online because when people come into
Right?
the buildings.
Like, they
Just
want to
give
see
them
all
a
the cool
teaser
stuff.
and.
A
to bring
teaser,
them
and
in.
then come
Yeah.
on down.
Yep, so, all right. Anything else, Kelly?
No, not at this time.
Okay, all right. Any questions for Kelly?
I would like to thank the three of you guys because you have been huge helps to me. You are always responsive quickly. Donna's up in my office every week. And then you guys with any phone calls or emails.
Every week.
Every week. But it's good because it keeps us going and focused. And if we have questions, we can get them answered and we can get out and get the research and get it back. So,
Back at you.
well, thank you.
Quick
Thank you.
responses, lots of energy.
Yes.
Appreciate it very
Yep.
much.
Thank you.
The one thing I know Dennis brought it up at our last meeting, was about the bar side and the food or some sort of candy or ice cream or something shop. And I know in the past, and it had been discussed, that whenever this was all first discussed, that there was that the board and this board voted to not recommend having any kind of food preparation service out of the bar side. And I know Dennis brought it up, and Alderman Lesh was here, and said, he would get with Mr. Nemeth or bring it up at the board meeting at some point. But I just want to get this board's opinion on where we stand as a committee on having food in the bar side or some sort of refreshments in the bar side.
This morning, again, Dennis and Kelly and I had talked about that. And if you have something like, ice cream or penny candy or, something that is going to be for a family, not a wine bar or, a liquor license or anything like that, something for the family, that would be good. We also kind of laughed about the fact that Little Ireland now has a new owner, which we all know. And, it would be nice if we could get him to, maybe put in part of his coffee shop and, have the frozen treats and stuff like that, so it, wouldn't be a bad idea, right? Wouldn't be a bad idea to have something
That might be a
there that we could
conflict,
offer.
but.
It might, just a tad.
But I just wanted, I'll admit, I was, whenever this was first proposed, I was not in favor of any food because just my concern is tracking it through the museum part. And, and the items that we would have over there. But I understand that we have to evolve. We have to have stuff in the building that will draw people in. And I think having people stop there, they're going to want some sort of refreshment. And so I'm not opposed to it. So Bonnie, do you have
Well,
any?
I think we could have signage up too that says no food or drinks beyond this point.
Right.
And you don't want the volunteer or Kelly, having to be,
Right. And And I-
enforce anything.
right.
But, if somebody's going to have a kid that's got, and that's why you don't want like ice cream or something like that,
Right.
If a child goes out into the museum area, they can
And-
say,
and, I
please,
mean-
no food or drinks beyond this point.
the elephant in the room is a source of funding and how we continue to fund the building. And we have to have options on how to fund the building and the events that we have, so.
Well, that could be if somebody, pays rent
Mm-hmm.
to use that space.
Yep. So, Bonnie, do you have any comments on that?
I think a lot remains to be seen. If there was some division between the bar area and the museum things, that would help, as in a stop for tracking food and beverage into the museum area. But Now, for example, if the kids' zone is in the back and you have penny candy or ice cream, that I feel like that's gonna be a natural path, and is that what we want? That's my
I'm not
thoughts.
going to sell gum, so just so we're aware, that's one thing that's not going in our gift shop is gum.
I'm not,
I don't want gum.
right. And at this point, I'm not, I don't think we're at the point of planning for food in that area, but I'm just wanted to get my opinion out there because I know it was brought up at last meeting, so I'm sure it will be brought up again. So,
Kelly, do you have an idea of when you might have a better picture of what the bar will entail?
I've got some ideas. I just need to put it on paper and get some pricing because I feel like that could be a cost. One thing I think I might have told you guys too, is one thing I'd like to do is have a really nice smell when you come in, whether it is popcorn or something that makes your senses awaken. And you're like, oh, I like this place. I want to stay for a while. It doesn't necessarily have to be popcorn, but a scent that's going to be like, this is awesome. I want to stick around. So that's one thing that's going through my brain of, hey, I'd like to do this, but I do need to put it all down on paper, and I need to talk to Steve about a couple of questions on like where I'd get certain numbers from. So
Well, and there is some kind of an system where it's like an air freshener that does shoot out those scents too.
I just don't want to get people
You
confused.
don't want popcorn, you don't want to have to clean up popcorn.
You'd be like all the time
messes.
sweep it, but you know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
like a good
Oh,
solid
scent,
scent,
cinnamon or something, yeah,
also to make them want to purchase it.
right.
So, the good thing I do like about the bar is there is a door to the outside. So it is kind of a welcoming of, you can come in that door, just purchase something and head out, or on your way out, hey, stop and grab a drink on your way out type of thing. When the pavilion gets put together, or if we get some tables outside, I think that would be a welcoming lunch place for those who maybe went to Jensen's Point and came down. Just something nice to sit down, eat, and have a quick drink.
all right. Anything under miscellaneous? Is any-
Can I just add just a bit to that? One thing that I've asked Kelly to do is put together what I call an operating plan. And there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen. We need a point of sale system. We need equipment, furniture, a lot of stuff. And what I've asked her to do is put that all together into an operating plan with quotations, figures, so on and so forth. Our hope then is to bring that in the form of a resolution to the Board of Aldermen ultimately. And then, assuming the board would approve it, it would give us authority to go forward with that plan and various purchases that are necessary, rather than try to piecemeal it, So that's the overall idea. And it's only been a week or two since I asked Kelly to do that, and I'm sure you're starting on it, but it's not there yet. That plan would be reviewed by this committee as well as tourism and ultimately the board. So it would go through all that review. And I mean, it's right now we're looking at probably December for occupancy. Is that? Which is still, I think, a manageable time frame, but we don't have a lot of time, really. So I would expect in the very somewhat near future for us to have that plan for you all to review.
All right, great. Thank you.
Yes.
Anything under miscellaneous? Mr. Roth or Mr. Myers, do you have anything, Mr. Myers?
Just one more thing, I got verification from Tony Patterson about the metal sign, the shield, and his comment was, yes, the metal option would be a great add. So,
Okay.
Any more? Anything under miscellaneous?
Have you all seen for the August 2nd Board of Aldermen meeting that the ordinance for the terms of our group were approved? And it's the ordinance number.
Yeah, I did see that.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you for bringing that up. Yep, I did see that.
So, Steve, do you have any more information about the digital signs?
no,
No quotes?
not
no-
this evening.
Okay. So at Jensen Point, they put up the Route 66 point of interest signs.
There's been two signs that have been erected. One was the original Civil War, not the original one. The original one was out of bronze and stolen twice in its history, and then relocated. And then now it's been moved to where it's more readable. People can pull off the highway and read it. But that's been restored to the base of the stairs. And then also the Route 66 Association, or Route 66 commemorative attraction sign that was donated by an anonymous donor has been erected there in the middle of the parking lot, but back on the north side of the parking lot in the grass. They're done.
Thank you, anonymous donor. Is Red Cedar to get one
Absolutely can.
What's the-
by the city or by,
Well, there's no anonymous donor coming forward for that one yet. If you'd like to be one, just let me know. Anonymously.
Anonymously.
They're a few $100, I think.
I just know that charts the course for the Route 66 Association, right? They plot that signage where those signs are placed, correct?
I believe so.
Yes. So that would be another way of attracting people to that.
Well, they're gonna, I think Red Cedar's already
I
plotted.
hope so. So,
But I don't know if you need another sign there. We're gonna have signage already. So,
are we slotted to have Blackburn Park, for instance? I'm just curious,
no,
for one.
no, but there should be one there. Yeah.
Just need more anonymous donors
Yes.
Well, or somebody needs to bring it to the board
forward.
and see if the aldermen agree to get those signs purchased.
Yeah, this morning Dennis had brought up more information about the possible signages for the buildings, you know, that we wanted to do with the QR codes and that. And one of the suggestions was that, you know, perhaps a business would like to donate one of those signs for a building, and then we could acknowledge that, you know, this company donated this sign, you know, so you might be able to do that if we need more signage.
Another
Cindy
thought.
Gallagher was telling me a couple weeks ago when I was talking to her, this is a little, not really on the thing here, but somebody from Italy was coming through here, and she talked to him for a long time, and they were following the Route 66 tour, and they were here from Italy, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Oh, they come from all over the world. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty amazing. A thought I had about what Kelly and I have been working on in terms of organizing a Route 66 committee to prepare for 2026. Those commemorative signs is something that committee absolutely could take a hold of and make sure they're in the position where they need to be.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Is there any update or is there any plan to get Jensen Point on the historic registry?
You know, that's something that was discussed years ago, but it was avoided because we didn't know what kind of condition corrections needed to be made up there. And if you get on the historic registry, now you have a lot of hurdles that you have to jump, or maybe even things that you might have wanted to do that you're not going to be allowed to do. So I think like part of it was a discussion of ADA accessibility under the gazebo, and that was decided we just aren't going to do it. It's just too invasive to cut out a chunk of that wall so that there would be accessibility. So rather than that, perhaps a future plan might be to build an observation platform next to it, to where somebody could actually get up in a wheelchair and observe what that all looks like. They just wouldn't be able to roll out onto that rough rock anyway. It's a rough surface. So it's not conducive to wheelchair accessibility. But that kind of thing is a thought that has to occur before you get it registered, because now there's a lot of different rules that apply.
Yeah, I was just looking for more information. So the last thing I'll bring up and then quit. When we are making our motions and making our votes, currently, our liaison is in attendance less than 50% of the time. So who is taking it forward, what we have for the board?
Between myself and the city administrator. If there's something that requires board action, he'll take it now, and if in his absence, I would bring it to him.
Because I just haven't heard anything go forward about the digital sign or
It's still in-
different
it's still in-
things.
Still in research.
Well, Andy had said at the last meeting he attended, he would talk to the board about where it stood and the fact that the old sign was in storage, for example, and what the choices would be, and I never heard that happen. So I'm just curious
Understand.
who's responsible.
As I just said, in his absence, I would carry something back to the city administrator, and he'd take it to the board.
Okay,
Right.
thank you. That's all I have.
Anything else? If I do not have anything else, Donna,
I don't have anything else.
Our
Kelly?
next meeting,
I'm good.
Is our-
Yeah, that's a good one. Next meeting.
next meeting
That was
is
Bonnie.
September 14th. Does the 5:30 still work for everybody?
September
The
14th?
13th, it's the 13th, isn't it?
I think so. I don't know. Let me look. I'll have to look at my calendar. You might be right. What is, today's a Wednesday?
You want September the Tuesday? Is
No, it's Wednesday.
Wednesday is the
Yeah.
14th of
14th.
September?
Yep,
14th.
yep.
5:30?
My text message said the 13th, I think.
Quick text message.
When I got the agenda,
I didn't send,
maybe I'm thinking of,
okay.
maybe I'm thinking of my book club.
Right, so September 14th at 5:30, if that still works.
Okay,
All right, motion to adjourn
motion?
by Donna, is there a second?
Second.
By Bonnie, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.